Hello everyone. So if you were watching the video just before this, you were learning all about texture. And texture is what we can feel. Different feelings of fabrics, like my sweater is soft, right here it's a little bumpy, or the way that paper feels. Paper is very smooth. Well, we can also show texture by different types of lines. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to show all the different types of texture in a landscape. So what you're going to need is you are going to need a white piece of paper and crayons. Crayons will help show you all the beautiful textures. You're also going to need a pencil and a black marker. If you don't have a black marker, you can use a black crayon, and that will also work. If you don't have any crayons, colored pencils will also work very well. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw my landscape. We're going to draw all different sections. You can follow along with exactly what I'm doing, or you can add your own sort of twist to it. So in a landscape, we have the foreground, which is in the front, the middle ground, which is in the middle, and the background, which is behind everything. So we're going to start in the foreground, and I'm going to draw blades of grass. You can see how it's pointy looking, and you can imagine feeling that blade of grass. Might feel sharp, or it might feel smooth if you're feeling alongside of it. Grass can look all different ways, so I'm doing a bunch of different shapes. Okay, so I have my blades of grass. The next thing I'm going to add is I'm going to add a hill right over here. We add a hill. Remember, we're drawing with our pencil. I'm going to draw another hill over here. Maybe you just want one big hill going over. That's up to you. The next thing I'm going to add is a river. So I'm going to add kind of a wavy line going up, because this is my water running down. And then I want to have a tree in mind. So I'm going to put this tree over here. Tree, I'm going to give it a branch. And I'm going to give this branch some bumps to make it look like leaves. We'll do the same thing here, kind of like U shapes, and then we'll do a big cloud shape above it. So we have our foreground, which are these blades of grass. It's in the super front. This part's still part of the front, but it's slowly turning into the middle ground. And then we're going to get to our background. But I'm going to draw some more hills, because I like hills. I think they make a landscape look very interesting. And I'll do one more behind my tree. If you want to show it going behind the tree, you have to stop at the leaves, pretend like you're drawing, put your pencil back down to that little area, pick it up, and there's no more space that I need to draw. So now it looks like it's behind the tree. Now, I'm a big fan of sunsets, so I'm going to draw a nice big arch make it look like the sun is setting. And then I have my sky. I'm going to add a couple clouds. I'm going to add those wispy clouds. Just a couple of them. And now I'm ready to make my different textures. So you can be using whatever colors you want for any of this. Grass does not have to be green. Your different hills don't have to be green. We can make this a colorful landscape. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out what colors I want to use throughout my project. When I think of the sky, I think of pinks and reds and yellows when the sun is setting. So I'm just going to stick with pink, and I'm going to lightly shade my sky pink. And you know what? Before I keep going, because I forgot, I'm going to outline all of my pencil lines with a black marker. So all of my pencil lines I'm going to outline with a black marker, because the black marker doesn't work very well after you've already put crayon on the paper. So if I colored all of this with crayon, the marker doesn't stick as much because it's waxy. So it doesn't like anything wet getting in it. It tries to make all the markers or even water stay away. Just like if you've used paint on top of crayons, you notice that the paint doesn't really stick on the crayons, it goes next to it when you're using watercolors. So I'm neatly tracing my pencil lines. And I can use the edge of my marker to draw thin lines or thicker lines, depending on what I want my landscape to look like. When I'm done tracing, then I'll go back to lightly coloring in my different sections. I know it's a little hard for you all to see because this camera does not pick up light things very well. So I traced all my lines. Now I'm going to go back to lightly shading. Remember, when we shade with a crayon or with anything, we color in the same direction. We take our time, especially when we're next to other objects that we don't want to be that color. I'm also holding my crayon on an angle so that I don't get these really harsh, bold lines when I'm lightly shading. Kind of see it. Let's see. A little light pink. Alright, so I know that I'm using light pink, so I'm going to keep that here. I want my sun to be yellow. So I'm going to use yellow, and I'm going to lightly shade my sun. Keep that crayon out. My tree I want to be green. Once again, you don't have to have a green tree. Your tree can be whatever color you want it to be. But we are lightly coloring in all of our areas. My green. I want my trunk be purple. I think that'll be awesome. Shade my trunk in purple. If you don't have a label on your crayon, you can use the side of it and it will also color for you. Keep my purple out. I'm going to do some blues for my hills. Make sure you don't forget any sections that are behind other objects. Because maybe you have bushes in here, or maybe you added rocks and other objects that you can find in nature. I'm going to use blue for this one, and I'm going to use it down here. So I'm just going to color this one in now. The blue's a little darker, so that's why it shows up more on your screen. You gotta go in between the blades of grass. So take your time there so you don't color in the grass blades. Put my blue to the side. Let's see. I've got an orange I can use. Color this large one orange. Remember, color in all the same direction. Same direction. Now once again, I'm not coloring dark. I'm coloring lightly because we're going to go over everything afterward. I've got a red crayon. I'm going to use that for here. Oh, my water. I think I want to stick with my water to be blue. I'll use this one to be a red hill. Sometimes you need to peel the label off your crayon to make it a little bit easier to work with. So that's okay if you need to do that too. You gotta get in between every blade. Every blade of grass. And kind of light blue. It's like a blue violet. That's not very light. It's almost the same color as my hill. That's okay though. There we go. And then the last thing is my grass. I wanted to use like a dark green for my grass. Thought that would have been a good idea. I don't know if I have a dark green, but I'll use this green. I'm going to peel it a little. Color in my blades of grass. It's okay if you go over the lines, but where there's a gap in it, oh, I forgot to color in that gap right there. There we go. But if there's a gap, you want to be careful that you don't get it onto the hill. I forgot another gap. Right there. You got to be careful of those. Take your time when you get to that skinny point on the blade of the grass, because you really don't want to mix up your colors. And the very last thing that I have not done yet are my clouds. And I'm going to do it this red-violet, just because. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is add our textures. Alright, now it's time to add our texture. There's so many different ways that we can show texture. So I'm going to bring this paper up again about our different lines that we can make. Vertical, zigzag, curved, spirals, wavy, cross-hatching, curly, broken. There are so many more. So we're going to use the type of line that is best for each area. So we can start with the grass. We're going to use the same color that we used for the grass, and we're going to be pressing harder with our crayon. We were doing really lightly to begin with, and now I think the best line for a blade of grass, because they can blow in the wind, you know, they're flowy, they can be smooth sometimes. I think the perfect line for that is a vertical line or a curved line with the curvature of the grass. So I'm going to take my crayon, I'm going to press down and give that blade of grass the lines that it needs. I'm going to do that the whole way through. Perfect. So I don't need my green crayon anymore. I can put that back. Let's see. These hills. I think the hills would be great with broken lines. I think that would really help. You might think a different way. I'm going to take my red crayon and do some broken lines for my hill. When you're making your broken lines, you can do them longer, smaller. You do it really long, and then some smaller ones. I don't think I like it when it's really long like that, but I'm gonna change my mistake and balance it on the other side so that it doesn't look out of place. And I'm going to keep doing the broken lines. But notice how I'm doing it the same way that the hill goes. So it's all together. I'm going to do the same thing with this hill because I just think it'll look nice. I think I used this crayon, but I'm going to go this direction with it. Notice I'm going through the blades of grass to show that little line in the middle of the grass. There we go. Next is my water. Ooh, I use this for this hill too, so I need to save that color. I'm going to grab my water, and I think of wavy lines when I think of water. So I'm going to do some wavy lines going the length of my river. There we go. Next I have this huge hill. I'm thinking more zigzag lines for this hill. Going down. But notice I'm going with the hill. With the hill. There we go. You want to make them closer together, like right here, that looks like a really big gap. I can always add another one in there. You can always keep adding more if you want to. So, my next texture going up would be this tree. I don't need that anymore. Used purple for the tree. Ooh. You know, with a texture, you can even do the bark of the wood. And the bark is a special line. I just kind of go down and up. You just kind of go down, up. Some lines are straighter, kind of changes a little. But that looks a little like wood bark, similar. Do a little here. And then I have my tree. I think I'm going to do some spirals in my tree. I think that will look a lot like the leaves. I think that's coming out nice, don't you? Notice I'm putting them right next to each other, so there's very few gaps. And I'm even going off the page, which is fine. There we go. What about my sun? I think I'm just going to do curved lines with the sun. There we go. My clouds. I'm going to do horizontal lines for my clouds. Use this color for my clouds. And, oh, I can't forget about my hill. And do those broken lines again. You don't have to do everything the same. I did this one the zigzags. There we go. And I just have my sky. I think I'm going to do some cross hatching for my sky. Don't need these anymore. So I'm going to use my pink for my sky, and I'm going to do some cross hatching. So I'm going to make diagonal lines first. And then I'm going to go in the other direction. So sometimes it's easier to do the other direction on this side because I started on this side. Start in this corner. Notice when I go by the cloud, I stop at the edge of the cloud and then I keep making my line go on the other side of it. That way I don't go through the cloud. We have a cross-hatched sky. And there is your textured landscape. So, nice job, everybody. I cannot wait to see how yours turned out. Don't forget to upload it on that file in the Google form. That way I can see it. And I'll also be able to put it in Artsonia at some point. All right, good luck.